Hi, welcome to Lessons with Laura from Mwalimu DeLuca, the top 10 things you need to know. Starting with number 1, South Africa is a major financial, social, political, cultural force in the region. South Africa is pretty easy to locate geographically. It's the very southern tip of the continent. It's part of BRICS, and BRIC stands for Brazil, India, Russia, China, which were all thought to be very strong emerging economies. In 2010, when South Africa was added to that group, there was a lot of excitement because Africa was included in a really dynamic financial strength area. Number 2 is that one of the most famous people in the world, always listed on top 10 leadership globally, is Nelson Mandela. He led the country to freedom after apartheid. We know him as Nelson Mandela mostly in the West, but he has multiple names. In fact, Madiba is his clan name, and that's what he's really known as. His circumcision name is it's a Xhosa name, which means troublemaker. He ended up being a troublemaker of sorts, in a good way, finding freedom for his nation. He also had a Nobel Prize, but this Nobel Peace Prize was really unique. He shared it with de Klerk, who was the white president before him who oversaw apartheid, because they ended up meeting and trying to find a peaceful way forward. He was a man that was super knowledgeable, super charismatic, great speaker, and literally if you look on the internet you can find hundreds of quotes by Nelson Mandela. One of my favorite is, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." Number 3, Nelson Mandela was the head of the ANC. ANC stands for the African National Congress, and it now currently is a political party, but at the time he led it, it was the primary resistance movement, and it was a movement that was in action for a really long time, since 1912. Number 4, South Africa has not been able to escape the fact that it was under apartheid 1948 to the early 90s. That continues to inform inequality in the society, even though it ended under Nelson Mandela's rule. I'm going to read briefly a quote from Trevor Noah, who's a fabulous comedian, because his autobiography really describes apartheid clearly. Apartheid was perfect racism. It took centuries to develop, starting all the way back in 1652, when the Dutch East India Company landed at the Cape of Good Hope and established a trading colony, Kaapstad, later known as Cape Town, a rest stop for ships traveling between Europe and India. To impose white rule, the Dutch colonists went to war with the natives, ultimately developing a set of laws to subjugate and enslave them. When the British took over the Cape Colony, the descendants of the original Dutch settlers trekked inland and developed their own language, culture, customs, eventually becoming their own people, the Afrikaners, the white tribe of Africa. He goes on to say, apartheid was a police state, a system of surveillance and laws designed to keep black people under control. A full compendium of those laws would run more than 3,000 pages and weigh approximately 10 pounds, but the general thrust of it should be easy enough for any American to understand. In America, you had the forced removal of natives onto reservations coupled with slavery, followed by segregation. Imagine all 3 of those things happening at the same time to the same group of people. That was apartheid. Number 5, South Africa has 11 official languages. These languages include Sepedi, Sesotho, Setswana, Siswati, Shivenda, Tsonga, Afrikaans, English, Ndebele, isiXhosa, and isiZulu. So this isn't just a random fact. It really informs the society. Why would any society choose to have 11 languages? Well, if you think about after apartheid, everyone needs to be included. Let's make the Rainbow Nation, the Rainbow Coalition, and hear everyone's voice heard instead of imposing English or Afrikaans on the population. The sixth thing you need to know is that it also has 3 capitals. The first political capital city, where the actual president's home is in Pretoria. The legal capital is in Bloemfontein, and the legislative capital is in Cape Town. Again, this is part of the legacy of post-apartheid, is wanting to distribute power more evenly. Number 7, one of the really key cultural terms is Ubuntu. It actually comes from South Africa. It's a philosophy. It's the idea of people being interconnected. It literally means, from the term umtu, or human, I am because you are. This sense of interconnectedness, of community, of sharing, and even forgiveness. After apartheid was over, Nelson Mandela formed the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that was really based on this idea of Ubuntu. Number 8, South Africa is a major economic force in the region, but I would say the biggest income earner are the diamonds and the gold. So De Beers is one of the biggest companies, earned a lot of money out of the diamonds, but one of the questions is, does that diamond wealth really trickle down and help South African people on the ground, or is it kind of a form of exploitation? And it had a really big impact on the societies, partly because of the mines themselves. One, they were extremely dangerous. Most of the miners were men, most of them were black men. The diamond trade in South Africa has been both a blessing and a curse. Some countries in the region have turned diamond wealth into something positive. Botswana, for example, actually processes its own diamonds instead of just selling the raw diamonds. And so because they're able to do that processing and cut out the middle person, they're able to keep a lot more of the wealth and use it towards health, education, and schooling. And so there have been moves like that in South Africa as well. Number 9, there are tensions about immigration. It's strong economically, but it's also protective. And there have been tensions with immigrants coming from Zimbabwe, from Mozambique. And so that's an area of struggle for the society to figure that out. Number 10, South Africa is a major travel destination. Kruger National Park was the first national park, not just in South Africa, but in Africa as a continent. When I took my son to South Africa for the Fulbright, he was not excited to see rhinos or elephants. He was most excited to see what was called the jackass penguin or the South African penguin. Who knew that they have penguins? Also, lots of private game reserves. I think something that often gets overlooked is it's not just safari tourism or animals. There's a lot of incredibly sophisticated culture, really amazing restaurants. One of my favorite places in Cape Town was Bo-Kaap, not only because of the beautiful buildings, but of the very sophisticated, nuanced Cape Malay cuisine, which has lots of spices from Asia and African, Asian fusion flavors, really exciting and yummy. There's a lot more content, and I hope you tune in again to Mwalimu DeLuca or Lessons with Laura. I will link books down below. For one, I love Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime, then Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, and also a book that I co-authored with a South African author, Sylvester Maposa, called Building Peace from Within, which used the South African concept of Ubuntu as a lens to try and understand peace building across the entire continent. Thanks.